This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV for Wednesday, February 21st, 2024. I'm Derek Gilbert. Topic number 5 today, Gaza. There are now about 1.5 million people crammed into the southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah. That is the border crossing city between the Gaza Strip and Egypt. That's about 6 times its pre-war population. Egypt, now fearing the crisis is going to spill over into its territory, and it's racing to build a large walled compound to physically keep refugees from the Gaza Strip from entering Egypt proper. Egyptian officials say they're building an 8-square-mile walled enclosure in the Sinai Desert close to the border. This anticipates Gazans fleeing across the border as the ground assault by Israel on Rafah continues as they try to eliminate the 3 Hamas battalions believed to be taking refuge in Rafah. According to the Wall Street Journal, this walled enclosure would be a guarded military camp of sorts, capable of holding maybe 100,000 people. But officials in Egypt say they want the numbers of refugees allowed into this camp capped at 50 to 60,000. Again, the bottom line here is that Egypt does not want the Palestinian Arabs in Egypt any more than Jordan did back in 1970 when they fought a war to kick the PLO out, or Egypt in 1973 after the Yom Kippur War, where they lost Gaza to Israel and then refused to take it back. Topic number 4, Barisma and the Bidens. Interesting development in the ongoing investigation of Hunter Biden. Last June, a document, FBI document, Form FD 1023, was leaked. This document alleged that President Biden was paid $5 million by an executive of the Ukrainian natural gas company Barisma Holdings, where Hunter sat on the board, and Hunter also received $5 million, allegedly. This form, which was dated June 30th of 2020, was from a highly credible, confidential human source, or CHS. He detailed multiple meetings with the top Barisma executive over the course of several years. Beginning in 2015, this source had been working with the FBI as a regular informant since 2010 and been paid about $200,000 over the years by the FBI. Now, as the 2024 presidential election heats up, that source, identified as 43-year-old Alexander Smirnov, has been arrested and charged with lying about the bribes by special counsel David Weiss, who is investigating Hunter Biden. Smirnov faces 2 counts for making false statements and obstructing the government's long-running investigation into Hunter Biden. He faces a maximum penalty of 25 years in prison. According to the indictment, Smirnov lied when he said that Hunter Biden had promised to protect Barisma, quote, through his dad from all kinds of problems, end quote, which raises the question now, if Smirnov told the FBI about these alleged bribes in confidence, that he had no expectation that this Form FD 1023 would be leaked and become central to Republican investigations into what the Bidens were doing. What did he have to gain from lying, and why is he being arrested now? I think we know the answers to those questions. Topic number 3, gender and IQ. Not in the way you think. A respected neuropsychologist who found that puberty blockers can harm children's IQ says that academics are, have initially anyway, tried to dismiss her research as biased and to keep it from being published. University College London professor Sally Baxendale published a review of potential impact of these powerful drugs on the IQ of children who take them. Her study highlighted cases where young girls seemingly lost between 7 to 15 points off their IQ, intelligence quotient, while taking these medications, which stop bodily changes that occur naturally during puberty. Baxendale revealed on her blog that anonymous reviewers cast suspicion on her motives, accusing her of a political motive for doing this kind of investigation or exploring this subject in the first place. Some criticizing the fact that she found only negative studies with negative impact on cognition, even though they couldn't point her to any positive studies. And others said it risked traumatizing trans people. Excuse me, but it would seem to me the bigger story here is that when you put children on these puberty blockers, there is reasonable evidence now to suspect that it affects their mental development. But apparently that's less important in today's world than not stigmatizing those children suffering from gender dysphoria. Topic number 2, pulling the plug on our future, that is. Electricity, of course, is essential to maintaining a first world standard of living. We have come to depend on reliable sources of electricity here in these United States, but it is also becoming increasingly vulnerable. We've become so utterly dependent on an uninterrupted supply of electricity that there have been some really frightening studies as to what might happen if that was cut off. Former CIA Director James Woolsey testified before the U.S. Senate back in 2015 that if America's electric grid went down for an extended period of time, like for the course of a year, there were basically two estimates as to how this would affect the U.S. population. The low end, the conservative estimate, is that 2/3 of the population would die. The most extreme estimate is that 90% would die if we lost electricity for the course of a year. In other words, if we just turned back the clock to about 1860. Now, not only are we not spending the money needed to harden our power grid against an electromagnetic pulse, we're playing Russian roulette with the future by shifting towards less and less reliable sources of energy like solar and wind. In fact, you might remember just a few years ago, the Texas power grid very nearly collapsed during Winter Storm Urine in 2021. Wind and solar facilities couldn't generate power during the freezing temperatures, and natural gas, which is delivered on a just-in-time basis, can also be interrupted just in time, like during freezing weather, and that's just what happened. Texas missed having a months-long outage of its electric grid due to damage caused to the grid by a matter of minutes. They averted it by instituting blackouts across the state. And because excess reserves of power are dwindling as we shut down coal plants here in these United States, the ability to call on neighboring power grids for help is disappearing. According to a study by Princeton University a couple of years ago, relying on wind and solar to get to net zero, meaning no carbon emissions, by 2050 would require us to triple the size of our high voltage transmission grid at a cost of about $2.4 trillion. Needless to say, we're not spending any money on that. And at the same time, the drive toward net zero is causing us to shift things like home heating, cooking, transportation in the form of electric furnaces, stoves, and vehicles, which puts even more pressure on the existing power grid. And to get to net zero with wind and solar, we would have to allocate roughly the equivalent land mass of the state of Texas to just wind turbines and solar panels. The irony here, this is a recipe for disaster. The irony is that the answer to this drive towards clean energy might be returning to nuclear power. Anyway, coming up, speaking of green energy, a brilliant solution to the problem of what to do with old batteries. You have the power to solve this problem within you. I'll explain next on 5 and 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure you know how you can get your copy of this incredible new book in the Blood Alliance special offer. This amazing opportunity includes the brand new book, Blood Alliance, the attack on Yeshua's threshold covenant and its impact on you in the midst of our prophetic times, by best-selling author Messianic Rabbi Zev Porat, that details the current-day diabolical influence of the biblically identified Chaldean spirit, the false, counterfeit threshold covenants Lucifer is planning to use to deceive millions of Christians in the days ahead. What the Old and New Testament has to say about the temple on the Temple Mount, what the Sabbath really is, and how the threshold covenant brings it to life. But we're just getting started. This must-have collection also includes Zev Porat's all-time best-selling book, Unmasking the Chaldean Spirit, which details his stunning supernatural conversion from a deeply Orthodox Jewish man to faith in Jesus Christ as Messiah, as he faced literal demonic manifestations, temptations of great wealth to denounce his faith in Yeshua, yet through it all he pressed on with a glowing zeal for the Word of God and the people of Israel. But that's not all. This unbelievable collection also includes best-selling author Carl Gallup's book, The Rabbi, The Secret Message and the Identity of Messiah, which reveals how Israel's most venerated Orthodox rabbi, Yitzhak Kaduri, came face to face with the true Messiah and said that it was Jesus, all while efforts by global media and powerful elites to cover up this broad, sweeping, stunning revelation totally collapsed. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of $60. Yours now for your donation of only $35 plus shipping and handling. So act quickly. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity right now, but it's available only while supplies last, so don't delay. Visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the Blood Alliance special offer.
Item number 1 today, yellow makes green. Researchers have found a readily available substance that can help retrieve 97% of the cobalt in recycled batteries. Now, we know that with the drive toward EVs and other electronics, such as the one you are using to view this program, we need a lot more cobalt to make the electric batteries needed for these devices. And sadly, that cobalt is being mined by slaves, essentially, in Africa. But we can recycle a lot of the cobalt, up to 97%. That's currently being wasted when batteries are disposed of. And it turns out we all have the power within us. Yes, Grace, this is very exciting news. All it takes is drinking a little water. You see, researchers at Linnaeus University in Sweden have discovered they can retrieve up to 97% of the cobalt in recycled batteries and other electronics by using urine. Yes, urine. Up to now, recovering cobalt was a very expensive and inefficient process, but the team at Linnaeus may have changed all that. They've discovered a simple solvent using urine and acetic acid, which is vinegar. And after a couple days of putting it in this solution and heating it up, 97% of the cobalt separates out. It's amazing. But what I'd really like to know is who was the first person, the genius, who peed on a battery and said, "Hey, look, cobalt." Sometimes the boundless innovation of the human mind is just a marvel. Well, this week on Skywatch TV, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Next week on Skywatch TV, we launch the Countering the Darkness virtual conference. Actually, not on Skywatch TV, but it's presented by Skywatch TV. Some 24 presentations, of course, featuring the last presentation by Dr. Tom Horn. He recorded it last fall, and we are honored to present that with the Countering the Darkness virtual conference. But other speakers that you will not want to miss, like Ryan Pitterson, Rabbi Zev Porat, Rabbi Jonathan Kahn, scholars like Dr. Igal German, Dr. Mike Spalding, Pastor Casper McLeod, Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis, very important insights, especially in the current geopolitical situation, and much, much more. Plus, you get access to all 6 feature-length documentaries from Skywatch Films. Find out more and sign up today. It goes live on the web on February 29th. You can register now at defenderconference.com, defenderconference.com. Now, this week on Skywatch TV, portals. What was Paul talking about when he mentioned the third heaven? And how does this relate to the old covenants of blood done over the threshold? Blood Alliance, the new book from Rabbi Zev Porat. He and his good friend Pastor Carl Gallups are guests on Skywatch TV this week. Don't miss the program. You can watch it right now at skywatchtv.com. You can catch it right now at our Roku or Apple TV channels, on YouTube, youtube.com/@SkywatchTV now, rumble.com/SkywatchTV, or our mobile app, which is really a good thing to have anyway because it bypasses the gatekeepers of big tech. Get our mobile app. You can cast the video directly to your smart TV using Google's Chromecast or Apple's AirPlay. It's got other features as well that are very useful. And you can use it on iOS, Android, or Amazon Kindle Fire phones and tablets. It is free, and we have links to those app stores at the website, skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilberton. This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.